I'll call the meeting to order. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Declare that closed, and we're going to move into closed session, and we'll be back. Thank you very much.
We begin this meeting by acknowledging that Quinte West is on Indigenous land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, there have been Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte First Nation. This territory is covered by numerous treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. This acknowledgement serves as recognition of the contributions and historical significance of Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island and demonstrates our collective commitment to meet the promises and address the challenges of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission within our community.
Much. Mr. Clerk, do you have any remarks at this time?
Nothing from me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Welcome. Glad you made it. Glad you made it. Thank you. Well, we've got some announcements. The birds came back too soon. I guess that's what we could say, because I think they're looking for another place to land besides the snow on a branch, but we're thankful for what we received. Mother Nature's been good to us this winter, so what's happened is testing our strength and, I guess, stamina to get through spring. So thank you. I'm going to ask for any announcements from staff members or from council members? Start with Councillor Quinte coming this way.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just in today's agenda, there's a reprint of Mr. Jardine's excellent report on housing, and if members of the community want to read up on our housing ideas and objectives, that would certainly be a big help in letting us know how you feel about housing. Thanks.
Councillor Armstrong?
I'll reserve some for the end. The survey for Tucker's Corner is underway.
Yes, I think it is, but Director Angel?
Through your worship, yes, it is. It started approximately 2 weeks ago. Just as an update, we're getting a fair bit of feedback from residents in our community, and we encourage residents to go to our social media page or website, fill out the form, and submit your responses in regards to where you see and which you see that facility being designed towards.
Okay. Councillor Stidle?
Just thank you for the time, the 2 minutes of silence for former Brian Mulroney, Prime Minister, and condolences to his family on his passing. He did a lot for our country, and in particular giving us free trade and a better relation at the time with our neighbors to the south, and I appreciate the time that was taken for
I agree.
Thank you.
I don't disagree. Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to announce the Community and Social Services in Hastings County that I sit on with Councillor Sharp and Councillor Armstrong has approved the funding or the build for the 32 unit on the old College Street property. No thanks to either government, federal or provincial. We're funding it all ourselves, but thanks to our partners at Hastings County who helped us do this.
But we haven't given, have we?
They say there's very little likelihood, but we haven't given up. We're going to build.
Right. Councillor McHugh?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pleased to see I had a text come through today that I think we're finally getting a date in place to honor the late Terry Cassidy, who I had the pleasure of serving with for 9 or 10 years here on council. And I don't think we have another meeting before it takes place. I think it'd be the next council date. It's around 3 o'clock, if I remember correctly, in the afternoon on April the 3rd. I don't know if that's been firmed up yet or not, but I'd just like to put that out there that I'm very pleased to see that's coming to fruition finally. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
Just to announce that tomorrow night we are planning advisory committee meeting. We have some major business to carry on with in regards to housing and apartments and whatever, and hopefully we can get that carried forward and keep things moving here.
Okay. Councillor Card?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to remind those who would like to participate that the In Their Shoes awareness walk and awareness event will be this Sunday, March 24th from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., rain or shine, at the upstairs at the Dunk Arena. And if you'd like to come by, we take a walk through the city and visit some of the community partners and stakeholders that are supporting some of the unhoused population and those who are housing insecure. And it's a great way to learn about some of the great things that those nonprofits do. And yeah, it's a good day. So anyone wants to come out, please do.
Thank you. Councillor Kotsobis? Councillor Sharp?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I too want to acknowledge and thank Hastings County and the partners, and I really am glad that Councillor Neal brought that up and that we are going to be able now to move forward College Street, the housing initiative there. And also we dealt with all three budgets, including long-term care, EMS, and human and social services. They're very extensive budgets that the city supports, and they're within the budgets that have been approved. So that is good news, and we had those meetings last week. So that's excellent. I also wanted to just speak to the survey that's been underway for Tucker's Corners for the tennis court or the multi-purpose area there, that we're taking feedback, I think, till April 1st. And as Director Angelo said, you can get in touch with staff, counselors, or go online. And one of the things that we are here, I just want to stress that the funding for that particular park is coming from parkland reserves, which can only be used from parkland reserves. It cannot be used for roads or housing. We appreciate, we need all of those initiatives as well, but I just wanted to clarify because some are questioning, why are we spending that money when there's so much to be done? And we always try to balance, but that particular reserve cannot be used for anything other than parks. So send in your comments. We really appreciate it. And also just wanted to highlight that at Battawa on March the 30th is the Battawa Lions Easter egg hunt. It's their 24th 21st year, starting at 9 till 12, and it's a great family event. Thank you.
Easter Bunny, I'll be there.
None, Your
Next
Worship.
one, Councillor Boyce?
None today.
You're on. Thank you. Patience and perseverance. It's yours.
Oh, no, I've none. Oh, actually, Strong Kids program for the YMCA. We've raised close to $85,000 for the pickleball tournament. All money goes to the Strong Kids from the YMCA, so there's still time to send those donations to Councillor O'Neill or myself on behalf of Quinte West. And we're hoping to raise $100,000, which last year we raised $40,000, and this year is a lofty goal, but I think we're certainly capable of doing so.
Well, thank you very much. That's a great goal, a fantastic goal. Councillor Reid or Councillor Sharp or Councillor Freeman? Which one? Who's on first?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to, Councillor Sharp has already mentioned it, but I will mention it again. The Easter egg hunt in Battawa on Saturday, March 30th from 9 until 12, which is sponsored by the Battawa Lions Club. It's a great family affair and event. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, but if not, there'll be lots of enthusiasm there. So don't forget, families, to head down to Battawa on Saturday, March 30th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Freeman, anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the folks at RCI, specifically, of course, Peter May, and
Yes.
the folks at our small museum there. They were able to open for a few days over the March break, and apparently it was very successful. It was donation only, but we raised several $1,000s, had some wonderful games, and put in some wonderful time with the kids, and the enthusiasm is still there. So we're going to start, it's closed again, and we're now going to concentrate on raising some large amounts of money. So I hope council is still behind us, and hopefully we can make a success out of that, because that's such a great family way to spend some time over the summer and the various holidays throughout the year. So just so you know, they're still working away there. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. It's he's doing a great job there. And did you see Jane's skeleton again or no?
I'm not sure if she's there still or not. They had some of it in Halifax and some at the...
There is a skeleton. My wife's name is
yeah.
Jane, and there is a skeleton at Research Castings. It's called Jane's skeleton. I don't think there's any resemblance, really.
None whatsoever, no.
Thank you. But I certainly acknowledge the work that Peter has done and is doing. It's fantastic, just unbelievable. So, yeah. And when I come back to museums, I just remind council that the National Air Force Museum needed some FORA support this year, and we weren't able to do it, so that they could build a place to house the latest airplane that they have refurbished. I think is it the Lancaster? That's the one they've just, and it's going over to, I think, Mountain View.
Base 31.
Base 31, is that not Mountain
No,
View?
it's Picton.
It's not?
Army base.
The old Army base in
Well,
Picton.
oh, okay, all right, it's close though. It's closer to there than it is where it should be. It should be here in our museum. It's where it should be. That's my opinion. Anyways, maybe we'll come up with something to help them, yes, because it's a great addition, and so many different individuals work on the restoration and just make it fantastic. I've been in and watched them, and it's unbelievable. Every rivet, every screw, every piece of metal that's in there is authentic. It certainly is. And again, thanks to all the people who have served in the military or are still serving, and thanks for what you've accomplished over the years for all of us to be where we are and able to do what we do. So, okay, I have. Okay, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? I'll do that again. Anything there? Hearing none, declare that closed. I've got approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on March the 6th. Need a mover and a seconder. Councilor McHugh moves, second by Councilor Card. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And the next one is the resolution, I guess I should have done the minutes of the regular and closed and so on, but the next is, in the first resolution that we just, we approved, it's the minutes of the regular council meeting, minutes of the closed council meeting held on March the 6th, and the minutes of the personnel.
Second.
I think that's the second one. Okay, so we did it, we got the first one. The second one is, the resolution is, and then a mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Stedall, thank you. That the minutes of the Personnel Committee meeting held on March the 6th, 2024 be approved, and further that the minutes of the closed session Personnel Committee meeting held on March the 6th, 2024 be approved. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay. All right. I think I've got a chance to do a presentation, and that way we'll help Matt and his family. And it's a pleasure to do this tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And Councillor Armstrong, you can help me if you don't mind. I'll come down, Matt. I will. I just want everybody to hear me before, okay? Anyways, congratulations, Matt LeBlanc, in recognition of your participation in the 2024 Special Olympics Canada Winter Games. On behalf of the members of City Council and the citizens of Quinte West, it is my pleasure to extend congratulations to you in honor of your participation in the recent Special Olympics Winter Games held in Calgary, right near home, right? Yeah. Wow, good for you. Matt, your dedication to the sport of 5-pin bowling over the past 20-plus years is truly inspiring. A lifelong resident of Quinte West, you have represented your city proudly, and we are proud of your accomplishments. Participating in the Special Olympics Winter Games not once, but twice, is a tremendous achievement and honor. You are truly deserving of this recognition. Congratulations, Matt. Presented March 20th, 2024. We'll do it over in the center, Matt, okay? You look out there. They want to know. They want to see you more than me. Okay. This is for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, coach.
Coach. Which one's the coach?
Oh, we gotta wait.
I should have known. She's got the same.
Yes.
No.
You just, do you want to say anything, or you're leaving? You just wanted to get beside me. Thank you. Sorry.
Look this way. There we go.
Matt, say it.
Bring it down just a tad.
Over here, please, Coach.
You want to say anything, Matt? Or?
I'm just. Thank you so much for help. Congratulating me on my achievement. Thank you so much.
You won't get another chance today.
The Special Olympics, these athletes work so hard. This is a 4-year journey, so 3 years to get to nationals. And the next level, athletes from Calgary were qualifying to go to Worlds in Torino, Italy in 2025. So that's what Matt was working towards. We have to wait to hear if he qualifies. It takes a few months for results to come through, but it is a really big deal. We appreciate this.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is, and thanks for all your help. Thank you very much, and congratulations, man.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
You're most welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Keep putting the ball in the right direction.
Mayor Harrison.
I got guys here who pretend they can play pickleball, but they. Oh, Doug, you want to?
He's also joined by Bob Clement, who's heavily involved with the Special Olympics. Maybe he could expand upon that.
Yeah, I've been with Special Olympics for 18 years in this community, and the community has been awesome. They supported floor hockey, basketball, We've been to provincial games, national games, and really enjoyed it. And of course, I love it. But we have a new sport, mini putt. Just recently started 2 years ago. I think Chris D'Angelo knows about it. And I'm hoping to get the same support through the youth center again this year. Thank you very much.
Am I correct that you spent a fair amount of your time in the military?
I did, 23 years.
You want to tell everybody? We're proud of you. That's
Well, yeah, you're right. I had 23 years. I was with the RCRs for 7 years. Portion of that was over in Germany and Egypt, Cyprus, Honduras, all the good spots. And here on base for 11 years, and I retired here. So
thank you. And you're all over like a dirty shirt. I know. I see you every place. And thank you very much for all the different places you work hard and help you guys.
Well, you're looking good too, Mayor. I see you everywhere I'm at.
Thank you. Nice to be seen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to ask Chief Whalen to make a few comments about a recent function that we held. And we had a full house at Mattawa. Chief, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. And I'm going to start off by apologizing to the rest of council that we didn't really notify council members about this event. And I'm sorry about that. We kind of got our communications crossed at our organizing committee. And these were pins that 5, 10, and 15-year pins that our volunteer firefighters were recognized with, and this was in their contract that we've been trying to get this together for 4 years. So, and quite honestly, I'm not sure we could have had any more people in the Battawa Community Center. We had over 70 volunteer firefighters, and we told them they could bring somebody with them, and some of them brought 7 or 8 people with their family, and we had to actually run next door to the fire hall in Battawa to get more chairs and tables. So we had over 150 people, and we had a nice meal afterwards, and yeah, it was a great afternoon, Your Worship. Thank you so much.
But we'll do better next time, right? We'll make years and where you ended?
Yes, Your Worship. So our 5-year, we had, I think, 12
You don't have to give names.
No. 5-year pins, and then we had Commander Lambert at Station 2 had 40 years, and our Commander Brad Graham at Station 1 had 45 years. So we gave them pins too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It was great. It was, you know, and Inspector and Chief, we really appreciate the work you do, and it certainly it shows in our city because we have people who are in need of help so often, and you're there to do that, and we really appreciate it. We really do. And then, of course, responding to that 401, that's another topic all by itself. So.
Yes, Your Worship. And I just want to remind council and yourself too that our 20 and 25-year medals, they're to be presented at council. So when we get our next round, we'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody on council have a comment? Any councilors have a comment? Councilor Freeman, you got your hand up? Would you like to?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like the chief to pass on our congratulations to all of those people that the recipients on the weekend. And I'm glad their families came out for them because their families are as involved as they are, and we appreciate them as much as we do our volunteers. So please pass that on. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I agree with you 100%. And I was very pleased to see the members bring their families. And even more important from my point of view as mayor is they brought some of their children. And what does that mean? Well, that means like when old guys retire, we've got some young people, hopefully, who have a desire to continue and replace and work and so on. And I always have to mention a gentleman who worked hard for all of the Bay of Quinte region in terms of our first responder, Chuck Nathan. Whether you know Chuck or not, you know, he had all kinds of sayings that he said. I can't say them all in public because it Yeah, I'd be wiped out. So, but Chuck, he was a hardworking guy, and he loved the first responders, all of them. And he's the guy that, along with Robert Rutter and Dale Milligan and so on, built the training tower that we have here that's used on a regular basis by so many of ours, plus many other communities close to us do the training there, and do the. Everybody that does training has to achieve a certain level of achievement, and a test is often written. So it's done at the training tower, and we've got, I think we have our complement of volunteers, and maybe we also have a complement of volunteers who are wanting to become volunteers. So they're not quite, but they're prepared with their training and the desire. So that's a big plus. So I thank you so much, and I know it's a lot to do with the leadership. Chief Whalen and Inspector Reeve, they both are fantastic leaders, and we have the complement of officers with our police department who are here working maybe through the college program, or doing a placement at Quinte West Detachment, or other municipalities, but they're here working alongside or with officers so that they actually understand what's involved, and should they desire to go on and become an OPP officer, they've got the ability and the training and the support from leaders. So it's all great, and I appreciate all that you do so much, so often. And I thought Councillor McHugh might have mentioned something about the volunteers, because there's a particular volunteer that has 40-plus years in, and Councillor McHugh was instrumental in.
I'll say something. Put me on the spot. Now, I mentioned the chief when I was there. Because I retired just about 4.5 years ago, I sat there, and all of a sudden I realized that every one of those people that was there from 5 years on, I served with them at one time or another. So it'll never happen again in my lifetime. And I'm pleased to say I was chief of Trenton Valley Rescue Squad, and a young little skinny fellow come along, wanted to join by the name of Gary Lambert, and he received 45-year pin, and he went on to become my boss before I left Station 2 as division commander, and still a great friend. So I was honored to serve with them all, honored to see them out there, and very proud of each and every one of them, I tell you. And at one point, to his credit, Deputy Caddick had the spouses and the children stand up and did address them and thank them for what their fathers and mothers and sisters had were doing out there, and letting them know they're out there keeping all of us safe, including them. And so there was a thank you. They were definitely acknowledged for that. Thank you.
Very good, sir. You'll get extra pay for that.
Thank you.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to make anyone else? Inspector or?
Presentation. I think turn that over.
Okay.
Whatever,
Yeah, I know.
This
That's
is
my
Don and
trouble.
Peggy. Don and Peggy. Presentation.
Okay, we've got a petition. Don and Peggy Paul will address Mayor Harrison and Council to present a petition regarding North End Hill Road, Trenton. Please come on up. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, first thing, on behalf of everybody in our little community on Hill Road, I'd like to thank the city for undertaking the reconstruction project. It's been a long time for that old bridge, 60-some years old as far as I'm aware, and it's definitely a much-needed repair. I believe that council and the departments concerned have a copy of the petition that went through our little neighborhood. So also on behalf of the residents, I'd like to present this petition requesting that the existing road surface be maintained in gravel as opposed to being paved upon completion, and to request the extensive guardrails as planned be eliminated from the construction phase of it. My name's Don Paul. I live at number 26. Peggy and I undertook this little undertaking just to sort of enable the concerns of all along that stretch of road to sort of bring our opinions forward to council. The road itself, you'll excuse me, I have to read because I've got a memory like a sieve sometimes. As this is an alternate emergency entrance to the Brookshire Meadows subdevelopment that was put in a few years ago, the fact that it's a gravel road itself kind of deters excessive traffic that basically from Telephone Road to the gates that have been erected. It kind of discourages, just by the fact that it is a gravel road, it discourages excessive traffic through there as they come up and turn around and go back out. In effect, I think that a paved road would kind of legitimize it as a thoroughfare despite the fact that it's marked as a no exit, and it would, again, remaining gravel would deter that fact. So a paved road would appear to be a through road, which in fact it's not. We also find that deliveries and folks that are finally realizing at the end of the turnaround that it is not a through road. There's a lot of speeding that goes on up and down that road from Hill Road, or from Telephone Road down the hill across the bridge and then back out the other way 47 seconds later. Yeah, I've timed them. So they are very common, and again, I think by paving it, it kind of legitimizes it more than it should be at this point in time. There's a lot of people. All of us have pets, and there's children in the area. Being a narrow one-lane road, not a lot of room to get out of the way when people do come roaring through there. So in addition to that, there's the developments of Brookshire Meadows and across Telephone Road and Applecrest and the various subdevelopments up there use that road as a walking trail for themselves, families, and their pets, and it's used quite extensively. Again, not a heck of a lot of room on a single lane road, and I feel that safety is a bit of a concern there too. We've had on a number of occasions had to slow down drivers up and down that road just because of the fact that there's kids and critters about. I guess, you know, if the decision is made to pave it, according to the drawings that I've seen in the engineering study, there's no room for sidewalks. And again, no way to get out of the way from traffic. So that's another factor that we wanted to consider. I guess paving the road itself, there's certain areas on that road ever since it was developed or built back in the 30s, specifically at the bottom of the hill coming from Telephone Road, where the substrata of the roadbed itself always floods and potholes. And I'm thinking that it's been voiced to me that by paving it, just the changes in seasons and the frost heaving and stuff would be detrimental to a paved surface, and probably a heck of a lot more expensive to repair down the road than just filling it with gravel and paving and grading. I guess another concern that we have, again on the safety end of things, is regardless of the surface, and I know that this wasn't part of our presentation, but it does kind of all tie in. If some sort of 30-kilometer-an-hour or designated speed hump to slow down traffic coming up across the bridge and back would probably be a really good idea to potentially include in the final build of it. I guess on to guardrails. The guardrails that are proposed obviously are not part of the current structure, and all the residents that have signed on the survey feel that they're not required, as it is simply a residential access road as opposed to a through road. It's been that way for 60 years. I know change is bad, it always is, but that's kind of the feeling from everybody. And there's a number of reasons for that, I believe. The guardrails, as shown in the drawings, impinge on the residents' ability not only to maintain their lawn, but for snow clearing as well, because there's not enough room for mower or, let's say, small snowblower plow access between some of the tree lines on the property and the proposed distance from the guardrail to the lot lines. We do have, as it is a single lane road, as proposed to replace the bridge on. We also have some concerns about the city's snow clearing ability in the wintertime in the event of a big dump of snow. Nowhere really to put it unless it goes over the guardrail. But again, that seems to not happen, whereas right now, without the guardrail, it's easy to plow into the ditch and life is good. Another issue that we see with the drawing as published, there are different lengths on each individual corner of the bridge to existing civic entrances, driveways for the residents. In that road, given the size of it and the width of it right now, for delivery vehicles such as propane, oil, heating stuff, or even recycling, etc., a larger vehicle has a great deal of difficulty even accessing, turning into the driveways, just because the road itself is narrow. With guardrails going right to the edge of the existing driveways, it's going to really exacerbate that problem unless some other solution can be come up with. So I guess all that to say, if I understand that the Government Ontario has specifications and requirements for guardrails and bridges and stuff like that, I get that. But if they are a must, can we at least make them like a consistent length of, I don't know, 5 meters, 10 meters, as opposed to stretching them all out to meet the driveway at the corner of the residences. I guess I don't have much more to add about this, except that right now, as far as I'm aware, Hill Road is pretty much the only unpaved civic road in the city of Trenton.
Quinte West.
Yeah, or Quinte West even, yeah. And I have to say, there's a bit of pride from all of the residents that it is the only unpaved road, if that makes kind of sense to you. It's something that's unique, and we'd like to keep it preserved. In closing, I guess my last little note here, while the bridge reconstruction is absolutely necessary, the existing neighborhood's uniqueness would be irrevocably changed by paving it and guardrailing the heck out of it. I think the installation and paving, the installation of the rails and paving obviously increases the cost of the project, which we're all trying to keep down. Remaining as a gravel road without a guardrail, again, like I say, reduces the cost. It addresses our traffic and safety concerns, and it maintains the uniqueness of our little community on Hill Road. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
For your time.
I'm going to leave it to Director Angelo. Council has passed what we feel in support of what the Director has indicated to us needs to be done, and I'm sure he'll spend time with you to work out any of the details that you're concerned about.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
We've done what we feel should be, we've said what we feel should be done. So not disagreeing with you and your comments, just that we have to look at things a little differently.
Understand, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to work together going forward on this.
Director Angelo?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple comments. I'd be happy to meet with all the residents down there again. I know the delegation has mentioned a number of times about a drawing. That's the old drawing. The guardrail lengths have changed significantly since that original drawing. So because the standard bridge that we had originally envisioned has changed significantly as we reported to council back in January this year. So I think it's probably prudent that we meet with the residents and just go over those changes. There's certainly, from our perspective, and his worship alluded to this, reasoning why we want to hard surface the roadway for preventive maintenance. We have plans on excavating some of those soft spots out. And again, it's about longevity of the road and reducing maintenance costs of the term. But we'd be happy to meet with those residents and go through some of those changes since the original inception of that design was first shown to all the residents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, got the, do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Move, I've got the, that council received the petition regarding North End Hill Road, Trenton, as presented. So Councilor McHugh and Councilor O'Neill moved and seconded. Comments or questions? Any more? All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks, Director Angelo. Okay, now we've got a gift that's coming towards us. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I want to get out of here. I guess I'm skipping lines. Greg Cook, you're on with, you're talking about the 401 and the planning that's going to take place. Come on up.
Hi, Mayor Harrison. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, there you are. Okay, go ahead.
I'm virtual today.
Yeah, you're virtual.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you, Mayor Harrison and Council, for providing an opportunity to provide some information about this important project in your community. So I'm going to share my screen here. Did that work?
Not yet. Something not working. There. Well, there. Whoops, we almost had it. I guess we got it. We got it now.
Sorry, is that working now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I should also mention I'm joined by Mohammed Wasim, who is an area manager with the Ministry of Transportation. So he's online as well.
Yes, I see him. Yes.
So got quite a few slides here. We'll go quickly to try and get this within the allocated time. We want to talk a little bit about the project, the challenges and opportunities, the EA process, some of the consultation that we're undertaking. We really want to focus on the preliminary design alternatives that we presented at a public meeting a few weeks ago, and then talk about next steps, and if there's time, have some questions or discussion. Okay, so first of all, the Ministry of Transportation has retained Stantec to undertake a planning, preliminary design, and class environmental assessment study for Highway 401, essentially within the city of Quinte West. And the focus of the study is on replacement or rehabilitation of bridges and structural culverts, interchange modifications, and establishing the Highway 401 future footprint for 6 lanes and 8 lanes, and also looking at commuter parking lot extensions or relocations. So typically when we start one of these planning studies, we look at the challenges and the opportunities, and that just kind of helps us, set the framework for the study. What are the problems and what do we want to achieve? So in this particular study, the main challenge here is that the bridges and culverts in the study area are nearing the end of their service life. Most of them were constructed in the late 1950s, and they will require significant rehabilitation or replacement in the near future to maintain their function. Along with that, if we're looking at replacing bridges, the existing Highway 401 platform typically cannot accommodate the traffic staging that is required to rehabilitate or replace bridges. So we're also looking at the highway platform as well. So the opportunities here are really to assess the existing bridges and culverts, develop appropriate rehabilitation or replacement strategies to maintain the safe operation of Highway 401. And really what this is about is, that the bridges will be designed for a 75-year service life. So the ministry wants to design those bridges to be somewhat future-proof. So we also need to look at what the Highway 401 is going to look like through the study area. So that's why we're looking at 6 and 8 lanes. And then that also impacts the interchanges. So when you look at widening the highway, that impacts the existing ramps. So we also need to look at the interchange configuration. So it's really the bridges that are kind of driving the study, but they're also driving planning for Highway 401 so that we know what basically the blueprint of Highway 401 looks like so that we can design the structures appropriately. So this slide just kind of captures the environmental assessment process that we're following. So we are following the Class EA for provincial transportation facilities. This is what's called the Group B process, which includes major improvements to existing transportation facilities. And at the end of this study, the entire study will be documented in a transportation environmental study report that will be made available for a 30-day public comment period. So in the middle of the slide, this kind of just represents the phases of the study, starting with data collection, generating and evaluating alternatives. And that's kind of where we're at now. We've generated alternatives and we've presented those to the public on February 22nd. And then as we move forward in the study, we will select a preferred plan, present the preferred plan, and then file the transportation environmental study report. In terms of consultation, there's some public notices, there's a project website. So if you are interested in more information, including all of the public meeting displays, they are on the website. There's Indigenous consultation, municipal consultation. We do have 2 municipal technical advisory committee meetings planned. We're consulting with external agencies, industries, and business owners. And as I mentioned, the study will be published in a transportation environmental study report, which is kind of the formal point of consultation. So the next group of slides are the alternatives that we're looking at. So as I mentioned, these are kind of grouped into different categories. First couple of slides are about bridge improvements. So there are 8 bridges within the study area. We're also looking at culvert, like smaller culverts and drainage improvements. As I mentioned, we're looking at highway improvements, so the widening for 6 lanes and 8 lanes. And then we're also looking at interchange improvements at Wooler Road, Quinte Road 33, and Glen Miller Road. So I didn't bring all of the slides that we presented at the public meeting. This is just kind of a summary of the bridge improvements. So location in the left column, the alternatives that we're looking at for each of the bridge locations. So for example, at Christiani Road, that is what we call an underpass. The Highway 401 crosses under the bridge. So we're looking at replacing that bridge to the west, replacing it on the existing alignment, or replacing it to the east. Wooler Road is a Highway 401 overpass, so we're just looking at replacing that on existing. There's a CN overhead bridge. Talk about that one in a couple of slides. I won't go through them all, but basically this just provides a summary of what we're looking at in terms of replacement alternatives. And we also met with Public Works staff. It seems like quite a while ago, but we did talk about, active transportation. Quite often the bridges crossing 401 are a constraint. So we talked about, accommodating active transportation either on the bridges or, within the openings under Highway 401. So that last column just kind of summarizes what we're looking at to accommodate active transportation, obviously in consultation with the municipality. So Christianity Road underpass, this is just kind of an example because as I mentioned, I didn't bring them all, but this is what we presented at the public meeting. So alternative one would be replace on the existing alignment. So essentially no change, other than the bridge would be longer to accommodate, the future Highway 401. For that alternative, because you're replacing in the existing location, we would either need to close the bridge for a period of time with a local detour. That would be the kind of the quickest way to replace that bridge. Or we're looking at, staging the bridge where we demolish half, provide or maintain a single lane of traffic with signals, construct half a new bridge, and then, demolish the other, move traffic over, demolish it, and then build the remainder of the bridge. So that is another method that can be used if maintaining access is critical, but it does require quite a bit of additional time. And then alternative 2 is the new alignment to the west, and alternative 3 is the new alignment to the east. CN Railway overpass. So there's an existing bridge over the old CN rail line. We've had some consultation with CN. Initially, we were looking at replacing it with a kind of a similar bridge to accommodate railway operations. However, CN did confirm that there are no future plans to extend that or reinstate that line. We're also looking at maintaining an opening for recreational trail culvert. There does seem to be some evidence of ATV use in that area. And then we're also looking at just outright removing that bridge. The next couple of slides are about the Highway 401 widening. So this is really just a schematic. There's more details on the website. So this is just kind of a cross section of some widening alternatives. So black would represent the existing lanes. On the right, that would be 2 eastbound lanes, and on the left would be 2 westbound lanes. So conceptually, we're looking at, widening 2 lanes to the middle, widening 1 lane on either side, or widening completely to the outside. So this is very dependent on, specific areas within the study. There's some areas where we cannot widen to the inside. So in that case, we must widen on the outside, but there's also some areas where there's median, wide median there that could accommodate widening to the inside. As part of the study, we are looking at the 401 alignment as well. The province is considering increasing speed limits to 110 kilometers an hour on Highway 401. So as we complete these planning studies, we're looking at existing geometrics and what would be required to bring the design speed up to 130 kilometers per hour, because we typically design for 20 kilometers over the posted speed. So this particular curve is near Hellier Road. So again, we have 2 options here. One would be just to maintain the existing alignment and basically not achieve that standard. And then we're looking at increasing the radius of that curve to 2,300 meter radius curve, and that would accommodate 130 kilometer design speed. Similar near Hillcrest Drive, again, looking at 2 alternatives: maintain that curve, or again, provide a 2,300 meter radius curve. Wooler Road. So as I mentioned, when we're looking at widening, that would impact the existing interchange configurations, mainly the entrance and exit ramps. So we do need to look at interchange configuration alternatives here. So we developed 3 alternatives. On the left, that's what we just call kind of a simple diamond configuration, basically with 4 ramps, 2 exit ramps and 2 entrance ramps. In the middle, we have what we call a Parkflow A configuration, which actually has 6 ramps. And the major feature difference here is that there's loop ramps that provide, direct free flow access from Wooler Road to the highway in eastbound and westbound directions. And then the exit ramps are more direct exit ramps, similar to what's there now. And then the third option is kind of the reverse of that, where we have loop ramps for the Highway 401 traffic exiting onto Weller Road. So again, these configurations would impact the size of the bridge here. So we need to, figure out or confirm the interchange configuration again, so that bridge can be designed to accommodate the future plans. Sorry, just down at the bottom here is a cross section of what the bridge could look like. So again, in consultation with Public Works staff, we've identified a 4-lane opening here, so 2 northbound lanes, 2 southbound lanes. Also a 1.5 meter multi-use pathway with a separated buffer. So moving east to Trenton, Frankfurt, Quinte West Road 33 and Glen Miller. We've combined these together because they are so close together. So we're just looking at 2 alternatives here. The one on top essentially mimics some planning that was done a number of years ago. So this would accommodate kind of the 120 kilometer design speed or the 100 posted speed. And then down below, we've looked at increasing the standards for the 130 design speed. So that would mainly affect these 2 loop ramps adjacent to the Trent River. So we would need bigger loop ramps to accommodate the higher speeds. And then in terms of the cross section at Trenton Frankfurt Road, there would be basically 1 lane northbound, 1 lane southbound, a left turn lane for interchange ramps, and then 1.5 meter shoulders for cycling. And then at Glen Miller Road, 4 basic lanes with 1.5 meter shoulders for cycling. So in terms of, I mean, I know we're a long ways off, but we are also looking at potential detours. Some of these structures could be replaced, as needed. But when those bridges are demolished, the Highway 401 would need to be shut down. Typically, that can be done overnight, anywhere from 12 to 14 hours. We'd have to do some traffic for some additional studies to determine the duration required and the traffic impacts. But at Christianity Road, again, we would need to close Highway 401 to demolish Christianity Road. So the detour would be to essentially use the EDR in this area for basically overnight. There may also be times when the new bridge is being constructed, putting new girders across the highway, there may need to be some temporary closures. And again, the detour route would be the existing EDR. At Glen Miller Road, for westbound traffic, again, when that bridge is demolished, traffic would need to be diverted using the EDR for westbound. For eastbound traffic, there really isn't a good route, a good adjacent route. So what we're considering here is building some of the new interchange ramps basically to accommodate a detour around the construction or the demolition of the bridge. So this one would actually not be using the EDR, it would be using new interchange ramps or kind of temporary diversion. And then at St. Hilaire and Aikens Road, similar stories. The highway would need to be closed overnight for the demolition and possibly for some of the construction. But again, these would be very short-term closures, and the plan here would be to use the EDR routes. And then some of the other bridges wouldn't necessarily impact Highway 401, but we talked a little bit about Christianity. So if that crossing would need to be closed, the proposed detour route would be Telephone Road 26 and Carmen Road. Stocktail Road, again, if we do need to close that crossing of Highway 401, again, we would use the local road network. St. Hilaire Bridge, same thing to, to accelerate the construction of that bridge. If we could close it and use the municipal road network for a detour, that would be beneficial and similar to Aikens Road. So, I mean, these detour routes need some additional consultation with municipal staff. But the preference would be definitely to close these to, so that the bridge can be reconstructed quickly and minimize impacts to traffic and residents. So we're getting close to the end here. I won't go through all the next steps here, but maybe the main ones are the next Public Information Center will be in the fall. So that's where we will present the preferred plan for each of the bridges and the interchange configurations and the 401 widening. We will obviously, meet with city staff before we present that to the public.
Thank you.
And that concludes the formal presentation. Certainly, we can stay on the line for questions if there are any.
Yes, please do. Director Angelo, have you had any comments or questions at this time, or?
Your Worship, no, not this time. We're still continuing to work with the ministry and their consultant on some of the detour routes and some of the planned work. Certainly, they've addressed some of the concerns we had about the active transportation routes, but certainly there's some other questions and concerns that I've raised with the MTO that we need to have discussion on further.
Thank you. Questions, Councilor McHugh?
Not a question, just a comment, Mr. Cook, with regard to your interim 6 lanes and your ultimate 8 lanes. If I had my wish, I'd just go to the ultimate 8 lanes and get it over with. First, it's going to be a lot cheaper building it today than it will be in future dollars. Get it over and done with, and then possibly we could designate 2 of those lanes like they do on the 407, primarily for heavy tractor trailers and big trucks, and 2 lanes for the other vehicles. Well, it's just a thought. I know it's dollars and cents, but if you're going to build it for 8 lanes, the substructure anyhow, why not just do the 8 lanes and be done with it? Thank you.
Nobody disagrees. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple questions. If they create the detours, what's the projected timelines for a bridge to be done? Like, how long is it going to be closed, and how long are the detours going to be done? The second question is the 401 interchange ramps. For example, Wooler Road, you could just go around the bridge with the interchange ramps. So I think that's what you're saying you're going to do. Same thing with Christiani Road. Can you not just create a road around the bridge instead of having a big detour? Thank you.
Yeah, so first question, and in terms of how long, it really depends on, if the, say for example, Christiani, if that could be closed, that would open up an opportunity to use, we call accelerated bridge techniques. So that could be quite short. I mean, we did one in around London a couple of years ago, very similar, and that was, I think it was closed for about 4 months. If we can't do accelerated construction, it could take, up to a year. So it's a bit of a chicken and the egg. It depends what, what constraints we're working with, but, it could be 4 months to a year, depending on the strategy. The second question, in terms of using interchange ramps, yeah, that's what we're proposing at Glen Miller. The other locations, the preference would be, to use the EDRs for demolishing those bridges over Highway 401, because it's only, a one-night typically operation. So to construct temporary ramps or temporary detours, around those structures would be quite costly for a one-night operation.
Okay. We don't disagree, but we don't agree with not doing it quickly and getting it done. Councillor Stedall.
So one comment was in regards to the bike lanes, I think the 1.5 meters does not seem enough. And then when people are using those bike lanes, trying to go, there doesn't seem to be, it's just it's just a line on the road. There's no protection for anybody that's using those bike lanes, and I think that's my opinion, is that that could be problematic. The other question is there a requirement for land acquisition with all of these proposals?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, there will be property identified as part of the study. So once the kind of the preferred plan is selected, then we will do what we call preliminary design level of detail and identify property impacts. So, typically there will be, widening along Highway 401, so kind of linear impacts along the 401 corridor, and then interchange locations. So depending on the interchange configuration, if it's significantly different than what's there now, then there would be property impacts at the interchange locations. So we will work with those property owners.
Just one final
once they're
question.
identified.
Sorry, one final question. So the property, or the study doesn't take in Wallbridge Loyalist overpass? Is that part of another section, or because I believe it's because that it's with Belleville, shared with Belleville? Is that why it's a separate section?
I think it was Belleville's.
Yeah.
It was Belleville's.
Yeah, that was done under a separate study.
It was.
Okay, thank you.
Don't forget us, we're part of that. Councillor Armstrong.
Have you any consideration of a ramp off of Aikens Road? Because there's nothing between Glen Miller and Wallbridge. It's probably 10 minutes. A lot of accidents happen there, and a lot of stalled traffic. Talk to that, even as an emergency exit when those situations happen, because of all the development too. Didn't hear me.
Any answer to that one?
I don't think you heard me.
Pardon?
Sorry,
My question is, was there any consideration for a ramp off at Aikens Road? I'll just cut it.
We've had some discussions with Director Angelo about ramps at Aikens Road. It's not part of this current study, but there is an opportunity to do some planning that would not preclude that.
Well,
that would be like a municipal initiative.
Okay, well, it should have been, because we have industrial, commercial land over there east of the Y, and there's land that at some time could be purchased if we had ramps and exits off Aikens Road. And that's looking ahead, of course. I know it's tough. You're likely working under a budget, and I'm sure the budget is nowhere near what it's going to cost. But that would be advantageous to us. As the one in Belleville, they've indicated they want another one to the east, which would take a lot of commercial traffic out of the downtown zone. So those are things that I think you need to look at carefully and try to come up with. I'll get done here. A couple of other things. You've mentioned about taking some bridges down. And I don't want to assume anything, but are you replacing every bridge that you take down in Quinte West? That's what I'm concerned with.
Yes. Yeah, they'll be removed and replaced with similar, but obviously larger to accommodate the future Highway 401 requirements.
Yeah. Okay. So and. I just remind you, would you know the last bridge that was built on the 401 between Glen Miller, or between 33 Highway and 30 Highway?
So when was the last one built?
Yes. Well, let me tell you, I was a young boy when this was built, this whole and the bridge at Spring Valley, County Road 26, I used to use that because my wife lived north of Trenton. And at one time you could come up there, stop, and proceed across the 401 directly. And then along came the bridge. So that would, from my recollection, that would be the last bridge that was built in that area. It was the one east of Highway 30. Anyways, I know you've got a lot on your plate to get this done, And we also know that you're already 10 years behind. But we're proud that you're going ahead and doing it, and we're pleased that that's happening. So, and we feel the same as has been indicated, that many of the accidents that take place are due to what you'd say, the volume of traffic in certain areas. So anything we can do to give more room to the vehicles that are using it will make it safer. Councillor Chris, comment or question? Then I'll come back.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And just for council's information, I've asked for a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation to discuss the very fact of additional interchanges either at Aikens or St. Hilaire to accommodate future growth of our municipality, whether it's industrial on that east end of our Trenton ward. So those discussions, I'm hopeful, will happen in the next several months and then bring something back to council. But as Mr. Cook mentioned, there may be some cost sharing and future planning needed for that, but it's something that we've talked about among staff, and I've raised that issue with the ministry.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know 6 to 8 years ago, many municipalities, when they were building bike lanes, they were happy just to get 1.5 meter lanes and just with a simple paint strip. But times have changed now, and as Councillor Stedall has alluded to, in some of your designs, have you incorporated the separated bike lanes or separated active transportation lanes? And in any of your completed bridges that have gone over the 401, is it safe to assume that when you actively tell the community you're going to do active transportation lanes, they're getting completed? Because I know we struggled in Belleville trying to get people over north to south, and so I'm just worried that it looks good with the active transportation lanes, but when it comes time, they're like the what I call the low fruit on the tree. They unfortunately get eliminated. So have they been actually, the communities that you've built these bridges for, have they been actually constructed? I just don't want to see denied access to our pedestrians. And that's to you, Greg.
Yeah, I think that typically, I mean, the requirements for the crossing roads are typically dictated by the municipality. So we typically, consult with the municipality and incorporate the municipality's requirements, whatever that may be. So the widths or what types of facilities, whether they're separated. And then, there's typically, a cost sharing discussion as well at implementation time. So when the project moves into detailed design, the ministry and the city could sit down and talk about potential cost sharing, to get these implemented.
Okay, anyone else this way? Question? Okay, Councillor McHugh? This way, anyone else? No? Oh, Councillor Freeman? Councillor Reed, anything? No? Chief or Inspector, anything from you? Are you already you're working with this, with the group that's doing the planning and consulting? And so you're already got the black and white and the red trucks in place? Okay, good. Well, you're good. Sounds like, it's a great project. And yes, I was around when Highway 30 was the end of the 401, and many vehicles couldn't read the signs and didn't stop. They just went right on through, and that was the end of their vehicle usually. I don't think we had many killed, but we certainly had a share of people injured. And then the last section opened from Brighton to Coburg Port Hope, so that was great. And we appreciate the work you're doing, and the challenges you've got. And it doesn't take long to take a bridge down, because I was going someplace, and there's one you took down around Ritson Road in Oshawa area, or Kennedy Road, one up in there someplace. You took it down, I'd say maybe a day and a half or 2 days, it was gone. So, yeah, doesn't take long to remove it. It takes a lot longer to put it back up. But anyways, Mohammed, anything from you? We don't want to leave you out. We don't want to think we don't.
Maybe. Sounds like you didn't hear you.
Mohammed, anything from you, sir?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would just like to add about the interchange. We had meeting with the director, Chris Angelo, and we talked about it. And as Greg mentioned, that this new interchange is not included in this EA, but the EA will not preclude it as well should the city wants to pursue it in future.
It's going to cost us lots of money.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yes, you're working with the right people. You're working with Director Angelo and Inspector Reeve and Chief Whalen. They're the people to work with, and we appreciate that. We'll put a nickel in if you can do it faster.
And I would like to add that the ministry is 25 to 30 years ahead of the construction in the planning stage. There was a comment that we're 10 years late. So we are about 20 years ahead.
Well, we all hope to be here when it's finished. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
That's what we hope. We'll be glad to cut the ribbon or even provide a bottle of maybe apple cider or something that we can all afford. So, anyways, thank you very much. Keep it up. It's something we need to do. Okay, thank you. We'll go on and
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bev Woods, you're on, please, and we'd like to hear from you. Thank you. Gift from the heart.
Well, you're not going to hear from me.
Sorry,
Actually, I'm going to introduce Jimmy McLean. Jimmy has joined the Gift from the Heart staff as our community engagement liaison, and he's going to be giving you the presentation tonight.
Good.
Wonderful, and thank you, Mayor Harrison and Council. I wanted today to answer 5 questions. What, who, why, how, and when? Question 1, what are we discussing? We're going to talk to you today about what Gift from the Heart has already accomplished and the impact it has had in the Bay of Quinte, and outline our plan to effect change with those who need our help the most. Question number 2, who are we? Gift from the Heart is a Canadian nonprofit charity finding solutions to accessing emergency and preventative oral health care for the underserved members of our community. But this is also who we are. Meet Courtney, owner of the Boardwalk Burgers. This is an entrepreneur who has struggled with oral health care her whole life. And through the dynamic relationships and common goals and values of many in our community, we've been able to create a success story that has tangible ripple effects felt well after Courtney sat in our chair. Can you believe that there is a business owner in our community who cannot afford or does not have access to adequate dental care? We are here to dismantle the preconceived notions of who the underserved are and who it is that are accessing the charitable programs in our community. Why we do what we do? Well, in order to answer why we do what we do, we need to let you know of some of the problems that our community members face, such as geographical location. For those who live in urban areas, they can take for granted the kind of access to care that they have. For 18.9% of the population who live in rural areas, we aren't so fortunate. We believe our community members really resonate with this statistic. Unwilling subsidy participants. An increasing number of dental offices are unwilling to accept patients with ODSP and OW, and likely the new program being put in place stating they lose money or it's not profitable. Fear. Previous experience leaves permanent scars. I know for me, the experience I had getting teeth pulled as a child was so dramatic, I didn't go to the dentist in my 20s. Social stigma associated for those without access to dental care. Asking for help is admitting there is a problem, and for some, this is hard to do. Lack of finances. They don't have the dental insurance, or their coverage is nowhere near the threshold necessary to finance some of the most basic needs, such as 2 cleanings, filling, and or a tooth extraction over a calendar year. For those who are able to use what little they have, those procedures are almost always surgical and restorative, leaving no money for the most important one, preventative. To put these problems in perspective, have your gums ever bled? How many people don't floss because of discomfort or inflammation? If you had a cut on your arm that constantly bled, would you just leave it? Bleeding gums are one of the most common symptoms anyone can run into, but are overwhelmingly ignored. Because of the dysbiosis of bad bacteria, your mouth is literally screaming for help. This is where Provora treatment from Gift from the Heart can start to help members of our community, not just today, but tomorrow and the next. But how do we provide solutions? Well, we utilize our target audience. We provide treatment for all of the underserved members of our community. Again, we're here to redefine what underserved means. Some examples are our seniors and retired, especially those with concerns about frailty, diabetes, heart disease, dementia, those with limited to no finances available for the required emergency care, no access to ODSP or OW, the working poor. These are people who are working but have no benefits, or their benefits are nowhere near enough coverage for the required emergency care. We also have our outreach dental clinics. In true entrepreneurial fashion, Gift from the Heart has created a unique design to providing emergency oral health care to the underserved members of our community. In Brighton, we have an outreach dental clinic that's currently operational. Here in the Bay of Quinte at our Loyalist College, we have a mobile outreach clinic currently operational. The implications being that we can literally take this clinic on the road and set up where our help is required the most. It is also a working template that can be replicated. We want to also talk to you about how Gift from the Heart is being proactive by offering a life-saving product to those who need it the most, the underserved members of our community. The typical patient gets their teeth cleaned 3 to 4 times or more in a calendar year. These costs alone are in excess and are out of reach for many in our community. Provora would cut down cleanings by 50% or more, freeing people from pain and freeing up space in our dental chairs and emergency rooms. But what is Provora? Provora is a chlorhexidine-based product. Chlorhexidine is an antiseptic used to sterilize for pocket surgeries and healthcare practice, to reduce pocket depth in periodontitis and to treat gingivitis. It helps to eliminate harmful bacteria. This is what leads to dysbiosis, which leads to the inflammation. This is where your gums become loose and flabby, thus creating the room for tartar and calculus to build, becoming hard deposits, so on and so forth. Who historically uses Provora? Well, people in long-term care facilities, people who have suffered heart attacks and strokes, people who have diabetes, people who are going through cancer treatments in hospitals like Princess Margaret, Toronto General, and Sunnybrook. And why is it used with these specific demographics? Well, they have a common symptom, a lowered immune system. Without Provora, the dysbiosis of harmful bacteria impedes on the success of the treatments being administered. With Provora, you lower harmful bacteria that originate in the mouth up to 60 to 80%, which helps to heal the rest of the body because whole body health starts in the mouth. Some examples of the value of work being done in our in the Bay of Quinte. We have created outside the box or dental office ways to provide quality oral health care that our residents can afford. To date, Gift from the Heart has provided up to almost $24,000 in surgical extractions, almost $17,000 in restorative care, and up to almost $14,000 in preventative care, totaling just shy of $55,000. This is since November of last year. The takeaway, only 25% of the work we are doing is getting to the root cause. But through continued community engagement, creating and sustaining oral health awareness in our community, and your continued support, Gift from the Heart are helping people get out of pain, and more importantly, helping to ease the strain on an already overburdened healthcare system. Together, we can help build up your immune system and our community. What's next? Question number 5. When are we going to help? Well, before we tell you when, we're going to we're going to tell you what's next. We have our Oral Health Awareness Night with the Belleville Senators, March 22nd. We are looking to expand our footprint through an aggressive oral health awareness campaign throughout the Bay of Quinte and introducing the benefits of Provora. We are creating and sustaining dynamic relationships with other community caring organizations, as well as our fundraising for the Amazing Race 2024. This is showcasing commerce, community, and smiles in the Bay of Quinte. But to answer the question of when are we going to help, the answer is yesterday. That said, we wanted to reinvigorate oral health awareness in our community and to let Quinte West Council know these are just some of the initiatives Gift from the Heart has for the Bay of Quinte. And to conclude, we'd like to thank the City of Quinte West for their continued support. Once again, invite the City Council to continue to be champions for the Gift from the Heart. By creating a safe place for information and collaboration, we will begin finding solutions to accessing emergency and preventative oral health care for the underserved members of our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic work. And any comments or questions? Councillor Sharp.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. It's nice to meet you and get an update on all the great work that you do and working with Bev, such a dynamic team, and the Amazing Race. I know you'll get a big crowd out for that. If you could just let us know the contact information. I didn't see that slide. If you could, because people are watching, how they can reach you, how they can get an appointment, that kind of thing, if you could. Thanks.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, info at giftfromtheheart.ca, our email address. Our phone number, bear with me just 1 second here.
Can we put it on the website?
Yeah, everything is on the website as well. But our phone number directly is 613-885-3572. And again, our goal here is to simply reestablish the dialogue that Bev has worked so hard to start, and to let each and everybody know who might be listening or might be passed along this information that if there is something going on in your mouth and you need help, to give us a call. Because if we don't have the ability to help right then and there, we have dynamic relationships and networking, and we will find the answer and find that help for you.
Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to confirm, you're a charitable organization, so anyone that wants to donate will get a tax receipt.
Yeah, non-for-profit and charitable organization. That's Canada-wide.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Well, I thank you very much, and Bev is a great ambassador and doing great work, and I appreciate all you're doing, because you're saying you're not reaching everybody. Well, you're reaching a lot. You certainly are. And modern dentistry, I'll tell you, I've gone to the dentist a lot longer than likely many others, and I can remember going when there was a cable and it took forever to drill, and of course I needed some work. But anyways, it seemed to take a long time. Yes. And today's dentist and dentistry that I go to is in Brighton, and he's a great dentist, and the work is done so quickly and so I would say painless. In fact, I feel I'm a hero, because the last time I went and had some work done, I didn't even have any freezing.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much courage I brought with me. I don't know where I got it, but I'll tell you,
sir.
it all worked, and yes, and my wife said the same thing, so I'm not exaggerating it. So, people may not just trust me as a politician, which is correct, but my wife tells things honestly. So anyways, thank you very much, and we really appreciate the fact that you're reaching so many. And I still believe you only have to watch television and see some of the senators in the U.S. and they need to visit a dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna send them a donation.
Absolutely. Give them our number.
But thank you.
You got it.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, public input. Any public input? We're on. Thanks, Bev. Thanks for being patient with us.
Hello, Joel Fox, 568 Fox Road. I just came today because the housing plan, the report that's on the agenda, it mentions reduced parking districts and how the city's looking to, reduce parking minimums around in certain locations. And I'm very excited by that. I wanted to support that, and I also wanted to encourage the city to maybe even consider going beyond that and just eliminating minimum parking requirements throughout Quinte West for every use. I know it sounds very radical, it sounds very libertarian, but parking minimums are kind of having their moment right now throughout North America. There's many cities that are completely eliminating minimum parking requirements. It's kind of a bipartisan issue. People on the left, people on the right, for climate change reasons, housing affordability, free market reasons. It's kind of an issue that a lot of people can get behind reducing them. So there's even many states that are planning to reduce them statewide, sort of thing. And yeah, if any of you have ever heard of the book, The High Cost of Free Parking, I can't recommend it because it's 750 grueling pages of research and case studies, and it's quite a heavy book, but it makes a very solid case against minimum parking requirements of any kind. And yeah. So I just wanted to-
Any tractor requirements in it?
Minimum tractor requirements are always a plus. Yeah, thank you.
I know what you're saying, but it's a tough one because we just went through Hill Road is a fine example. There's no room to park on it at all. So, and that's the problem. We got roads that are narrow to start with. So we have to, when people decide to build, we have to have spaces for somebody in some place. So
Yeah.
otherwise, we're in a dangerous position. But thank you very much. I appreciate your looking into this. Great. Okay, anyone else for public input? Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, then I'll keep going then. First one I've got is resolution that staff report by David Clazy, CAO, regarding Cascades update be received. Councillor McHugh moves, seconded by Councillor Sharp. Any comments on the Cascade report? Anyone? Any comments or questions? All in favor then? Thank you. Carried. Corporate Services, that staff report from Clerk Josh Mashinsky, Manager Legislative Services Clerk, regarding municipal temporary patio registration, and the resolution that staff report Quinte West 00017 by Josh, Manager Legislative Services City Clerk, regarding municipal temporary patio registration be received, and that council approve the following temporary patio fees to be established as part of the 2024 fees and charges bylaw. Temporary patio setup is $30 per meter plus HST, and that's what the report. Any questions or comments on this one? Mover and a seconder. Councillor Reid moves, seconded by Sally, seconded. Got a question or comment? Either one of you? No? Anyone? All of
Just,
Councillor
Mr. Mayor,
Quincy.
is this price isn't any different than what we had before then? This $30 per meter cost?
Yes.
Your Worship, perhaps I could answer that.
Go ahead.
Simply no, for the erection of the barriers and the removal of those. However, we've changed the structure so that the proponent can pick the size of the patio they want. So if it's much less in size, as I understand, the owner of the Grind and Vine may want to make that smaller than what he had last year, he can judge his cost based on the $30 a meter. Alternatively, he can provide his own barriers if it meets a certain city standard and erect them himself and dismantle them himself, or they can rent them if they so choose. So there's lots of different options available to the proponents for these patios.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but I understand what Councillor Quincy is saying. I'm listening to what you're saying, but I also read the report, and I know that there are very few options that, can actually do. He doesn't have a truck, he doesn't have a forklift, he doesn't have, so I mean, those are things. I know there are 2 parking spaces there that he's using, plus some other space that he's getting. So I understand where you're coming. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just stating the information as I see it. And I think, Taylor, you've got to, you got to appreciate the deal you're getting. And
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
I know it isn't cheap.
Like the city's in a really challenging time when we were spending many, many days and many, many hours going through our budget, and there was good reason for that. And I understand that being in business certainly has its challenges. Not that I own my own business, but I do understand the difficulties, and decision is going to have to be made by Tyler if he wants to do something similar or go his own way and see if he can find a different way to make it more cost effective. But from the city's point of view, we really don't have another option at this point in time. So I'm going to support the motion. Thank you.
I don't know, Taylor, you got any more comments at this time, or you understand everything?
I should have spoke during the public.
Well, come on up. We'll listen to you.
Yeah, so I reviewed the options with Director Angelo, and the options in front of us, obviously, cost-effective wise, the barriers are about $25,000 or $2,500 as an investment for myself. Essentially, it wasn't an option for me to reduce my size of the patio due to the high trafficked area that it is, and they needed this space available to prevent car versus people interactions. So in discussions with the director, I'm able to reduce the size of the patio by half, which is preferable for myself as well on a staffing standpoint of things, and reduces our cost to around the $600 range. Ideally, preferably, I would love for those fees to be waived as a tourism initiative, but I understand I run a business as well. You guys run the business of the city of Quinte West, and that would be a perfect world, wouldn't it be? That's all I can say at this time.
We have to keep our head above water too, so.
Yes,
Thank
but
you.
it was nice to review what options
Yes,
were
that's-
available for us at the time, so thank you.
Any comments from anybody? No? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Director Angelo, for good job.
Sure.
All in favor? Pardon?
Sorry.
Did I miss somebody? All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, the next one is Resolution Staff Report 2024-00031, Brian Johnson, Director of Corporate Services, regarding corporate policy development, policy implementation. Be received and the council approves the corporate policy development policy. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor McHugh moves. Councillor-
Sorry, no.
No, you don't want to, I want a seconder. Councillor Elliott. Okay, it's on the table. Comments, questions? Councillor Stidall.
So I would request that we would move this report and just receive and file and not implement at this time. The council is already governed under Section 224 of the Municipal Act, which is indicated in the report.
I think we know what our responsibility is. I don't need to be preached to. I understand what my responsibility is.
Correct, but this report also takes away a part of what
No,
we do.
well, okay,
It
go
does.
ahead,
It changes the policy, and it has a portion of it, that a portion of our duties that we currently enact would be delegated to staff. So I'm recommending we continue to do things the way that we are currently doing them, and we not implement this policy
Well,
or policies.
from my point of view as mayor, I have a responsibility and a job, but I'm not paid to do the work that CAO Cleasy's to do and the directors. So I want them to do it, and I want them to do it well, and they have to implement it. They're responsible for that. So that's where I'm coming from. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not be supporting moving forward with this policy as well. I think we have great staff, and they know to bring forward administrative policy versus public policy. I like the opportunity to debate policies that include the community here. I know that there was an example from a very large city, and I think how we work well together, and I don't think we need a policy to govern how we make a policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know there's some issue about the report, and I'm wondering if we could get Director Johnson just to explain some of those
certainly
discrepancies. Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Through-
Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
Director
which
Johnson.
discrepancies?
I'm just hearing the issue that Councillor Stedall has raised, and I'd like to know your response to the issue about the if this policy limits or takes away any of council duties as outlined in the Municipal Act.
No.
Okay. And you're saying that that council still would have the same, if we didn't want this policy, council has the prerogative to change the policy.
If at any time an administrative policy is passed that council's not in favor of, council always has the ability to open that up, and council's the last stop. You guys are the ones that decide everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It's only a policy. CEO Clazy, you got a comment on this, please? You're the guy that's responsible for putting a lot of these together.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think what we're trying to do here really is just formalize really what's been happening to this point. There has been administrative policies that have been approved at my level and other CAO levels here in the city when it comes to some of the staffing stuff. And we're really just trying to formalize this tonight so everybody's on the same playing field moving forward. And we've also had council direction to undertake and review a number of policies over the last couple months. And it just will help put everybody on the same page moving forward as we move through.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? Question? Anyone? Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much. I have one concern, actually I have a couple of concerns, but one of them is the fact that we're reaching out to larger municipalities, much larger than our municipality. And I think that we need to be looking at municipalities that are more in line with our size and population rather than looking ahead at a large municipality. It's great to read about something that's working in a municipality, but are we talking to the people that are dealing with that? Does it really work? There's lots of policies, as we know, out there, and lots of things that are passed that don't work. And we've experienced some already within Quinte West with big changes. So I will not be supporting this. I think that we work very well. We need to applaud what we and our staff do very well right now. And so I will say that we stay here. We're working well. Reading about it doesn't make it something that's good to change to. So for those reasons, I will not support it.
Well, I just would say that we can reach out to any municipality and we'll certainly get answers. And we know you can read as well as I can in any place you want to go on the internet, on Google, whatever, and you'll find what policies are and what people will say about the policies that they have and how they're working. There's no secrecy, none whatsoever.
I just feel very confident in our Quinte West staff.
Councillor Freeman's got something. Okay, go ahead. Councillor Freeman.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're not talking about secrecy here. We're talking about the job that I was elected to do, which is represent the people now of the whole of Quinte West, and why we have to change something that is working really very well. Our council and staff have always worked well together in the, what is it, 25 years that I've been on council. That's never been a problem. And then suddenly we look to a city like the size of what, 500,000 or 2 million people or whatever it is to the west of us, to find a better way to do it and possibly take away some of the oversight that council has. I was trained the first day on council practically that we don't row the boat, we steer the boat. And I don't like limiting anything that stops me from steering this boat and representing the people that elected us. That's all, and I will be voting against this as well.
Thank you, and there's nothing that I know of that stops you from steering the boat. Any policy that's in place or comes to us, you have the right at any time to look at it, to talk to the staff, to CEO Clazy, and know exactly what it is and how it functions. There's no secrecy. I'm not saying there's any secrecy.
No, but you did use that word. But we have, the CAO is going to be doing some that we won't be seeing, as I understand it. And we should see all of them. What is this, the framework I don't even get, but I do get the fact that we should see all of them as they are before they're finalized. And I don't see that in this report.
My point again is that, you know, you can read anything. If it's not working, not satisfied, we'll take a look. Councillor Boyce.
So thank you. So thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank
And
you.
that's what I'm saying. That's because I'm here every day.
Okay,
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I spent hours looking over to see, you know, if I could see concerns, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around what oversight that council believes we will be limited to. I failed to see it after reading it for hours, what we're going to be limited to, or the powers of council will be limited, and I'm not seeing it in this report. That so I would love to hear, you know, what oversight we will be limited to from some of the people that do have concerns. Because initially, when I looked at it, I'm a cynic when it comes to things, and I look at it closely, but as of last night, I haven't seen the oversight that we'll be missing.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to CAO Clazy, just in a practical sense, and I appreciate this is, there's very strong feelings on both sides here. In a practical sense, if this was to be adopted and one of the identified as administrative policies, say vehicle use, was internally created by senior management, and there was a database. Functionally, if council is notified that a policy has been changed through the database, and we are notified of that, we review it, councillors can speak, pull it out, and closed or open depending on the nature of the policy. Would it in fact function the same way? Essentially, there's just a database, and rather than all of the reports and that legwork and that inefficiency of everything coming through the first draft, is you the same, except it's in the database, and we'd be pulling it out versus ratifying everything. And I say this, my issue with the current setup is that I think that we have, staff has an understanding of what policies that you are crafting internally, but I think that on council, I think we do need to delineate in a formal manner, because I think that as individual councillors, we probably have different lines of what, like I don't need to see the vacation policy in a report coming to council. In my opinion, I trust the CAO to craft that, and I certainly, if there's a database, it can be reviewed. If other councillors say, well, you know, this is significantly different than the last one, or there are problems here, certainly happy to look at it. But I could you just, I would like to formalize that, and I don't know where necessarily the line, like that's why the debate is important, but I think formalizing it, because I don't like it when councillors feel that there are things that are being done at administrative level that should have come to council, and I feels like creates the possibility for friction where there doesn't necessarily need to be if it's a formalized arrangement. Sorry, that's a very long preamble.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the councillor. We can definitely have the system set up, and Director Johnson and I have spoken about this, that if an administrative policy is created internally, we can have it set up that there can be a notification go out to council that a policy has been created, an administrative one, and if any councillor wants to take a look at that and had any questions or concerns, they can certainly reach out to either myself or the director that's been overseeing the development of that policy. And we can certainly do that to alleviate any concerns from council for not seeing those policies. But I think it comes down to, just the development of the policies. There's, and the Municipal Act speaks to administrative items and more public-facing items, and really we're trying to just create that framework. And the second part of this is creating the framework so that our policies are consistent when we move forward, and that's also part of what we're trying to do with this policy as well.
No question. I agree with Director Clazy, and it falls right in line with what Councillor Boyce was saying. This is just a framework that our staff wish to adopt to tell us how they're going to handle all policies going forward. But we still get final say in the end if we want to pull something before, well, there's certain things like we were just saying. He's going to bring the report back, or you're going to see the report and have your question, you can pull it up on the floor. It's like anything else today. If there's something worthwhile you want to talk about, you can bring it on the floor. We're an open council here. So that's my understanding. That's the framework. If there's a policy out there that we don't agree with, or we're made aware of it after the fact and want to discuss it, we can still do that. We can still pull it. We can pull anything at any time. We're the council here. We're like, as a state, we're steering the boat. These people are just giving them directions how to handle it going forward. They got certain guidelines, and they'll bring the information back to us, and we still, again, have last swing at the bat.
So there's a few different policies that were talked about. Vehicle use, different HR policies, vacation policies, remote use policies. All of these different policies is what the staff is indicating that they will make administrative in nature. So if they pass those policies, then that means that they can implement them right away, and there are dollars attributed to it. There's budgetary costs. So if you change a vacation policy from 2 weeks to 3 weeks after a year of being, employed with the city, then that costs us money in the long run. It has a ripple effect all the way across. The same with the vehicle use policy. Who has the ability to use those vehicles? If we have to purchase more vehicles, there's additional costs. So it will cost us at the end of the day. If you have those policies in place and want to change them, it's really hard to take back somebody's vacation. It's really hard to say you no longer are able to use that vehicle. So those are the types of policies that used to go through the General Administration Committee and used to be discussed at that time, and then they were approved by council, and they were vetted. And the same as, right now we've been dealing with the remote work from home policy or condensed work week. Those types of policies, I believe, are council's discussion to give direction. Staff finishes up the policy, brings it back, makes sure that it's with what our direction is, and then it gets put in place. How the procedure is to follow along a policy, so how they actually implement these things, that's staff's job. That's not changing. So that isn't what I'm talking about. I'm just talking the overall corporate policy is the fact, like I say, do we have 3 weeks vacation after a year or 2 weeks vacation? Those are the types of things that I'm talking about are administrative in nature, and I'm saying that those personnel policies should be coming back to the council. There is, like I said, there is a cost to us doing this at this point in time. The other part about the transparency is putting it into a database, which, when a number of different things are already put into a database, it's very hard to know that they've been put into place and to pull them back unless they're brought at a minimum for information. We've had, and if policies have been put in place previously to this policy, put in place by previous CAOs, our previous administrations, then they've been working against the, our current policy, which is under the section of the Act. So that it shouldn't have been done. We definitely.
Let's just clarify a couple of things. Number one is, they're not going to make any change that is already in the contract. In other words, when we hire, when we do the interviews and so on, and we offer somebody a job, they know what their holidays will be. They know how many weeks they're entitled to. We're not going to make any, they're not going to make any changes with that without coming to us and without us.
This allows them to do that.
That's not going to take place. It has never
what this
taken
allows.
place. I've been here a long time, and it hasn't happened yet. It is done through negotiations, and that's what we set. We establish those parameters. So those policies are not going to happen. They're not, those changes aren't going to take place. I guarantee it.
They could.
So anyway.
They could. That's what this is saying, that they can do that.
No, they can't. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to CAO Clazy, anything that has an effect on budget would have to be approved on the policy. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor O'Neill, correct, and I was just hoping to make that comment that while, to Councillor Settle's point, there's a couple of those items that you said would have financial impact. We also have to keep in mind that we, as staff, we'd still have to work within any budget that's approved by council. So if there was something that we wanted to change on a vehicle use policy that was going to cost a significant amount of more money, then that's something that we would have to have a discussion with council through budget on the financial aspect of it. But when it comes to rolling out the actual administrative piece of how we're doing that, that's what we're saying would, the policy piece of that would then fall to the administration. But the financial piece would fall in under the budget area, which would be under council's purview.
The only problem I have is when I saw this, I never even heard it was going to be done. And I felt like I got 3 or 4 days to figure about this. The more I read it, I'm not against it as much, but I don't like that it was just brought on us, and I was surprised about it.
Anyways, we'll go back to, we take the vehicle replacement that we talked about a while ago. We've used that policy for 25 years. And we take the vehicles and they go through our operations center, and Director Angelo knows this. There's so much money spent on a truck or a car or whatever, and we get to the point where we say this vehicle is no longer economically efficient for us to keep putting money into it, then we put it on the replacement list. And that's what we've been using for 25 years. And the other part of it now that's changed, as far as I'm concerned, is the availability of any of the equipment that we want, whether it be a truck, a car, or a tractor, or a sidewalk machine, or a fire truck. We have to make sure that we get our ducks in order in a long way down the road before we decide to replace it, because it's going to be a year or more before we can get that vehicle to replace it. So that's where I see that changes that we have to deal with. Councillor Quinte.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess specific questions. I'm just trying to make sure that I've understand what's going on, and I haven't really heard a real presentation from staff as to why they want to go ahead and do this. So I'm a little concerned that we didn't get a, if you want to call it a sales pitch or a step-by-step introduction into why we want to do this. So I am a little hesitant, but I do have a question either for Mr. Johnson or Mr. Clazy, whoever's best available. It's stating in the report, currently the city has dozens of corporate and council policies which have been developed over several years without any policy framework. Many of these policies are outdated or obsolete and require either removal, updating, or consolidation as a result of new legislation and the evolving needs. So I guess part of my question is, can you give me like 2 examples of policies that we're using now and today that are obsolete? And the second part, I guess, is how does this policy procedure program that you're introducing to us in this manner how is that going to help with the comments in the report about being outdated or obsolete and require either removal, updating, or consolidation? Because I have no idea which ones you're talking about. It doesn't outline them.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Quinte. I can, I'll try and be brief.
Take
some time.
As you
Okay.
need.
So I could give an example of, I've begun, so this started in January, where one of the goals assigned to me for this year was to clean up our policy game, I'll call it. It's a bit of a mess. If you look on the intranet right now, they're kind of organized by department, which is hard for staff and probably yourselves to go through, look at them, see what might apply to you as an employee or to you as council. We've got no contextual search. We've got an inconsistent way that we have presented each policy. They're all in different templates. They all have different required sections. And so this comes to the point of our need to get everything kind of on the same page and make sure that everybody can understand what we've done with respect to policy. So we started looking at that and enumerating that problem. When we did that, we started to see the magnitude of the challenge ahead of us. So we developed a couple of templates for policy and procedure. One thing that we did notice is that a lot of procedure is mixed up into all of our policy. As a best practice, that's frowned upon. Basically, the procedure part is the how. We implement the why of the policy. Procedures, as stated in the policy on developing policies, the most government thing I've ever done. It clearly makes that delineation between those two items and puts the procedure in the category of administrative. It does that to provide agility and flexibility, because the way that we're structured, the way that the systems that we use, the complement, who's sick, who's not, all these things need to be agile and from a procedure standpoint, so that we can continue to provide the services that we've signed up for providing to our residents. So that kind of led into doing some research about what do other places do, and when I tend to do research on progressive kind of things, I look to municipalities that have more resources than we do that would look into these things with larger research groups and more staff that are dedicated directly to some of these things. Which is why I look at larger municipalities. They just have more resources than us, and larger municipalities do the exact same things that we do. We for the most part, we all have to do the exact same things under the Municipal Act. So the size of our municipality is almost a moot point in a lot of these cases. So I look for best practices in places that have practices to look at. Smaller municipalities don't have these policies, and that's why I was looking at larger municipalities. When we look to these municipalities, we find a delineation between the administrative side and the council side. And I think that's there because we have already delegated the administrative duties of running the city to the chief administrative officer. Administrative is right in his title, and that's what he does. So passing policy that guides the administration of our organization makes sense that it sits there. So when I did the research and I looked at that, it made perfect sense to me. A lot of other places do it, and so we unapologetically stole Vaughn's policy. If you look at it, this is almost word from word, but I think they did a good job. It made a lot of sense. So to circle back to some of the examples of policies that you're asking for. I can give you one example that's probably coming April 17th of one that we are going to be requesting a repeal of, and that'll be charitable roll tolls. We've been getting a lot of requests for that, and procedurally it's not going anywhere, so that's one that we're going to be asking to repeal. That's a council policy that directly impacts the public. It's public. It's clear in the policy where that would go. vehicle use policy, not vehicle replacement policy, sir. It's a bit different because one does have council connotation of that. It impacts budget, how you guys do things, how you pass things, how we procure things. These all sound like council to me. But vehicle use policy and how staff would go about, I don't know, is there something in there about circle checks must be done or things of that nature? Administrative. Other examples in the report that we enumerated, things like the technology policy. Our technology policy should change rapidly as new things emerge in the technical landscape. The other one of my goals is ensuring the security of this organization, and being agile and being able to react quickly to things is really important in that case. So being able to pass new tech policy, I think, is a great win for us to keep ahead of bad actors in the area that are trying to compromise our systems. But on what's another administrative policy that I put here? What do we got here? Use of electronic signatures policy. So this would be an example of something where legislation has changed. Our records management coordinator is currently digging through tomes of best use and best practices around electronic signatures, something that I don't wish on anybody, but Ron's happily doing it because we've got a records management policy that we've got to clean up and implement while we're also implementing our new records management system. Anything around the retention, though, of documents, I would see that as a council policy because we're directly impacting how the business of the city is done and could have liability implications and all these other things. That is a council policy. But how we do the records management and what boxes go where, administrative. So Josh and I actually went through a whole bunch of these things when we brought this to say, are we crazy in thinking that we can make these choices, and are any really nebulous or on the fence? And the one thing when we talk to CAO Clazy, when they're on the fence, they go to council. That's a very simple and clear-cut way. If we think that they're administrative, then we would have them pass as administrative. As Councillor Card said, easily notified as soon as something gets approved. We can let everybody know if a CAO Clazy has made a mistake. The exposure time on that would be a couple weeks before we're sitting here again if he did it on tomorrow, the Thursday after a council meeting. So I don't think the exposure is quite high on that. Does that answer the question? I know that was a bit long for me.
It certainly helps. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Councillor Elliott, go ahead.
Yes, I understand the concerns in that, but having sat here and had policies brought forward over the years, we had an HR one last fall with Richard had brought forward. We looked at it and review it. I would presume, and Councillor, or I should say Director Johnson, when something is drafted in these policy frameworks, you'll be bringing a draft forward, and we'll peruse it to see whether council wants to approve it and implement it as a rule of how you or we are going to deal with it down the road, the same as everything else. And I don't have a problem with that. I think that's all right. I think we need to look at new ways of doing things. Certainly, the electronic thing as you're talking about, and some of the things that's going on, you hear of the implications of some of that fraud that's going on with some other municipalities, and we've got close to it once, and thank God for our IT, they were on to it and got it covered. But I think you're not going to implement something and rubber stamp it without us taking a look at it. I think any policy that I've seen over the years sitting here, we always come and had a look at it, and then whether we pick it apart or we approve it in total, I think that's always been the policy of the council, to give you the tools to work with to help govern and control this city and work for the citizens that we represent.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I want to make a clarification on that, because it's a little different than what you mentioned in that. So this actually probably addresses Councillor O'Neill's concern with, or problem with what we did here in that we didn't give enough runway to knowing what was happening. And part of the tracking system, so the strategy that we were going for here is a framework, a tracking system, and then going and working with all the departments to make sure that they're updating all the policies. What you see in front of you today is the framework. The tracking system is half in beta on my computer. It's nothing fancy. It's a spreadsheet that we've had our IT department start to work coding behind, so that when we do things, we can just send some email notifications. So where you mentioned that we will bring something and then you can rubber stamp, and I'm talking specifically about administrative policies. Council policies do not change. The method in the future would end up being, you'd see by looking at the policy database the things that are in draft, and since we work on things well in advance, you'd see this 3 months in advance. So if this was available to Councillor O'Neill, and it's like what's going on in the term with respect to policy development. You could look at this and say, oh, there's 3 things in draft. One of them was the policy development policy, and then questions can be levied at that point. What we actually expect is links to the folders and the draft policies that are in the folders, draft research. All those things would be accessible for everyone, staff and council, to go look at. So you would see how the sausage is made before it ends up in front of you guys, and I think that could lead to a more collaborative work arrangement between council and staff when we're developing even administrative policy. So I see this as more transparent, I see this as more open, and also more agile and quicker to act.
Okay. Councillor Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be asking for a recorded vote. Again, will every policy come before council for approval?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Sharp, under this framework, no.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Stedall?
And that was my question too, just to clarify, is that, through the director, is that every policy will not be coming to council. There will be policies that if we want to take a look at them, we will have to go digging into an intranet through a file folder to find out what the policy is. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Stedall, that is correct.
Okay, and one other question on the policy, which regards the CAO, had spoken to in regards to the framework. The framework is forming part of this policy, so what the policy will look like, what the template will look like. Is there any reason that we can't bring this back at some point in time with just the template, excluding the part where there's administrative policies that are delegated, just the portion where the policy outline, which is what seems to be important to both the director and the CAO? Can we not deal with that separately? If we're looking for a clear form of what the policy and the outlines are, we can deal with that separate. But this policy has got 2 things in it. It's got the template, if I'm correct, CAO Clazy, and it's also got the delegation of powers, which will take away us approving all the policies.
Mr. Mayor, through you, yes, if we can bring the framework back separately if that's what council wants. I guess again it comes down to, does council want that much input into the layout of our policies? And is that administrative or is that council? Because we're not talking about the actual information in the policy, we're just talking about the framework that the policy will look like.
Well, Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding if there's going to be a change in policy, we will be given a heads up. These policies are being determined to be changed, and we will be able to see before the policies are changed that we can go somewhere to find that. Is that correct?
Well,
through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor O'Neill. So as it states right now, administrative policies, so policies that are administrative in nature and deal with the functioning of administrative duties and administrative tasks would be approved as delegated authority by the CAO. Any policy that has outward facing, I forget the terminology that I put in the report, but things of how how the city, what city stances are on things, budgetary things that aren't already delegated to the CAO. That's an important clarification. There is a budgetary part in there in the administrative policy, but those are for budgetary things that are already delegated to the CAO. So any new budgetary things, any overall budgetary things sits with council. Any public-facing things sits with council. What we're talking about here is delegated authority to the CAO would be administrative items, things that govern the way that we work. If council wants notifications out of the system when we start a draft or things like that, easily programmable, no problem. We can send you as many emails as you guys would like that we're working on things of that nature. And if you want to come in and converse about any of those policies, we'd be happy to converse. And then that could be a way to, cut it off at the pass before the CAO hits the approve button on that policy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Card, then Councillor Katsoukas.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Director Johnson. And just to be clear, even if that did happen and the CAO did hit approve, council can still bring that back and override any decision later that we still reserve that ultimate prerogative.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council Card, council always has the last say. Anything that you guys want to change, you change.
So just as a supplemental, I think what I'm hearing here is essentially kind of different baseline levels of trust between different members. I feel like initially I thought with the database, if this was approved, that notification of a changed policy would be important to other members' points, leaving us to dig through, dozens or God knows how many files to try to, and guess what has been. So I think that that's important, but I think some the ability to consult during draft phase, and I think a notification of this policy is being worked on, this is being edited. If you want to post the drafts in there and those be accessible. But I think what I'm hearing is essentially that members are worried of a worst case scenario, being risk averse, understandably. What if there is, some bad stuff going in some of these policies, want to be able to stop it before there's a negative effect anywhere. So I think if this is adopted, that needs to be taken into account, whether the notifications happen during the line of the editing, so that, a member can look and say, well, I see where this is going and I don't really like this. They can reach out to the CAO. If the CAO can explain to them to their satisfaction, and if not, then it has to be brought out to council and we can talk about it ourselves. But I would ask for that, please.
I think that's understandable, but that's my opinion. Councillor Katsoukas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. CAO Clazy's initial comment was that we could receive the notification, and that set my mind at ease. As far as I'm concerned, we don't need to micromanage the staff. We were elected by the public, and we're making decisions that are in their best interests. So to one of Director Johnson's points, the electronic signature, if we received a notification that they're reviewing that, none of us really have to go over that. We can choose to, but if there are more pertinent, debatable topics and we want to scrutinize something, then again, they assured us that we have that ability to look at these notifications, and then we could bring it up at a council meeting. I'm comfortable with staff's direction in this report.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Quinte.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thanks. I'm not interested in micromanaging either. I just want to know if we're going to change something, that at least I get some kind of notification that we're changing something, so that, like, if I have an idea or have been educated in the past about a certain process and that's what I have in my mind, I would just like to know if we're changing it, if someone is going to be able to enlighten me as to where I can go to look to see what the changes are. And that's my only concern. Otherwise, I am going to support that we go ahead with this process. And so I just wrote down the question: how are we as council to be notified that an update is either scheduled or taking place? That's my only concern. If there's an answer to that and it's satisfactory, I'm going to go for it.
They're looking at every policy.
That's what this is. I understand that perfectly. Yeah, but they're not going to do them all in one day. There's many policies, and one of the reasons why this is coming forward is because there's many policies, and we've asked we've asked for more policies. And so Mr. Clazy and Mr. Johnson said, well, what we really need to do is we need to get a policy to govern our policies, and that's why we're looking at this. And all I'm asking for is that, you know, hey, let us know that you're editing or you're updating a certain policy. Tell us the start date, when it's expected to be finished, and then we could, you know, if we have questions, we can ask our questions then. That's all I'm asking.
I thought you just answered that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. No problem. And off the top of my head, we can workshop this as much as you'd like. Notifications can start with email.
Councillor O'Neill.
I don't have any more questions, thanks.
I thought you did. Anybody else? Anyone else? Councillor Katsoulis?
Just like council to also keep in mind that we all come from different backgrounds in our professional lives. Future councils may be even more diverse in what they've done in their professional life. We have to keep in mind that staff have, this is their career path. This is their choice. They have more of an expertise in these fields. So although we have a lot to offer because we come from different backgrounds, their main focus, like the director of finance, is numbers, accounting, things like that. So I would trust them to develop the policies and we can have the notifications. And again, I'm comfortable with that.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with a simple notification as well.
Okay, we're asked for,
Just one final comment. I know it was discussed about holidays and whatever, but Director Clazy, when we're going through union negotiations, some of that is established there. It's not necessarily policy. It's a negotiation on some of the stuff of as far as staff and times and whatever. And I know it can be implemented or and be an agreement, but it's always brought back too. So it's just not something that I guess staff decide what holidays, whatever. There's a guideline, but I do know after having sat on various negotiations over the years, there's various benefits and whatever gets into play when we're going through union negotiations. So I don't think it's can be tied totally to policy. Maybe you want to comment on that or whatever, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Elliott, you're absolutely correct. Like vacation allotments and changes and that sort of stuff would be definitely part of negotiations and would be part, there's dollars tied to that. That's financial. So again, that would be either part of a negotiation discussion, which council always has input on, or it would be part of a budget discussion, which again would come before council. So that in the vacation one, in my mind, would be something, as an example, that council would have input on and have a decision on if there's going to be changes in that aspect.
further to that, when you offer John Doe a job, what does that person know about his holidays and so on at that time?
Whenever an offer is made, there's always an allotment of vacation that's provided with that job offer.
So that's based on policy?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Anything
Your
else?
Worship, yes, Your Worship. I'd ask for a deferral of this resolution tonight until we are brought back a list of administrative policies versus council-approved policies by staff, so that we can. I feel that the council has had lots of questions tonight and not feeling 100% comfortable with what's being brought forward, and I would request that this resolution be deferred until we get a complete list of what staff is talking about and a list of the policies.
Good idea.
I'll second that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, deferral motion would go before the motion on the floor.
Okay, so we got a mover and a seconder. I'm going to ask for a recorded vote on the deferral.
Okay, to defer, Councillor Elliott.
No.
Councillor Armstrong.
Yes.
Councillor Boyce.
No.
Councillor Card.
No.
Councillor Freeman.
Yes.
Councillor Kotsavos.
No.
Councillor Quinte,
No.
Councillor McHugh,
No.
Councillor O'Neill,
No.
Councillor Reed,
Yes.
Councillor Sharp,
Yes.
Councillor Studdall,
Yes.
Mayor Harrison.
No.
So we have five yeses and 8 noes.
Okay,
Six
so,
yeses.
and the other motion obviously is to accept this, so I need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor McHugh moves, I need a seconder for it.
We had it on the floor.
I thought I did too. I
Yeah,
thought
we
I
have it
had a
on-
mover
we have it
and a
on the floor.
seconder for,
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, moved by Councillor McHugh, seconded by Councillor Card.
And you,
okay, so that's the motion, okay, so.
Your
we'll ask
worship,
for-
I'm sorry, Your Worship, does that include that council received the notifications for each policy as well? Okay, then I'm comfortable.
Okay, recorded vote.
Yep. Councillor Elliott. Councillor
Yeah.
Elliott.
Yes.
No.
Councillor Boyce.
Yes.
Councillor Card.
Yes.
Councillor Freeman.
No.
Councillor Kotzavos.
Yes.
Councillor Quinte.
Yes.
Councillor McHugh.
Yes.
Councillor O'Neill.
Yes.
Councillor Reed.
No.
Councillor Sharp.
No.
No.
Mayor Harrison.
Yes.
Okay, we have 8 and 5. Motion's carried.
Carried, okay, thank you. Motion's carried, all right. Now, I'm at resolution,
Staff report 003 there.
okay, Brian Johnson, already done that.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. 00033, Director Johnson, Corporate Services regarding animal control RFP update, and resolution by Director of Corporate Services regarding animal control update be received, and that council approve this, the budget increase associated with the renewal of the contract. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Sharp. Okay. Okay, any further comments or questions on this one? Councillor Sharp?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that we only had the one bidder, and it puts us in this situation, but definitely an experienced bidder. I like the idea of the 2 years contracted and the 3 optional. And I think that, as the directors indicated in the report, it gives us time to look internally if there is any potential efficiencies going forward. So it's a very good, it's a
Any
good
other
report.
comments? Any other comments? Okay, you want a recorded vote or just a hands? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. So I got planning and development, staff report QW 2024-00029 by Brian Jardine, Director of Planning and Development Services regarding housing initiatives be received. And further, that council directs staff to establish a housing working group comprised of staff and council representations to review and prioritize housing initiatives for the city of Quinte West. And further, that council appoint 3 members of council to participate as part of the housing working group. Moved by Councillor McHugh. I need a seconder. Councillor O'Neill. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Carried. Then when do you want to select 3 people to be on it? I guess that's the question. You want to do that now?
We put a motion on the floor to
Motion's
nominate.
already passed.
To nominate people for the 3 members.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
would nominate Councillor Sharp and Councillor Armstrong.
Okay, well, let's take one from you, and we'll take one. My personal feeling is that we should have 1 from each ward. That's me. That's fine. I'm not worried about 1 more.
Okay.
Are you?
No, not at all.
Okay, Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. I spoke to Director Jardine a little bit about this because I heard a lot of interest from members, myself included, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor McHugh, and I believe that he may be comfortable with it being more than the original 3 is my understanding, so we might be able to take everyone who wants to participate even, let him comment.
Well, I think, Director Jardine, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, certainly at council's discretion. Obviously, avoiding a quorum of council would be the limit there, but certainly at council's discretion, it could be more than 3. One of the goals here is to not make this a make-work project, if you like. The working group, the idea of the working group. There's a lot of stuff in this housing plan, a lot of kind of incremental decisions that may have to be made just to allow us to make forward progress. There's obviously a lot of pent-up expectations that we've been waiting to kind of be able to deliver on because of the funding application. Very much feel the pressure on now to move forward. Having members of council connected to staff working on some of these projects on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, things will come back to council as and when that's required, but that will certainly help move things along. But we don't want to necessarily make it, as I say, its own kind of life form, if you like. We just want to have that council input on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So, but yes, certainly the number could be more than 3.
Okay, so I'm open to 4. We've got Councillor Sharp, Councillor Armstrong, that's 1 and 2. That's 2 wards, I need 1. You'd like the 2, you're the same ward as Dunk, but that's, pardon?
Who's the other one?
Well,
You and Zach.
Is there a councillor in Murray Ward that wants to be on it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'd volunteer, unless Jim wants it. Do you want it, Jim?
I don't care.
I'd be happy.
All right, so then right now, I'm hearing 3 people.
4.
Did I hear 4?
Yeah.
Nominated Councillor McHugh.
So who am I missing? Councillor Armstrong for 1,
Hands up.
2, 3,
That's not.
4. Okay. All right. That's fine, because I may be there too, and that makes 5. So we're good.
I changed my mind.
But I won't.
What about Frankfurt?
You're changed. Oh, Frankfurt. Yes, Linda, you need to be on there. Yes, you do.
I would gladly be on that, but because of personal reasons right now, I will do my best.
Well, okay, listen,
to
we'll
take
keep you informed, and if you can make it, that's great. Okay?
That would be wonderful. I would really
That's fine.
appreciate being on that committee.
That's fine.
But as you know,
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Are you good, Mr. Jardine? Are you objecting to Dave McHugh? That's good.
No, I'm fine. Thank
He
you.
goes to Cuba more than Cubans go to Cuba. Anyways, okay. All right. I need to have all in favor of what we've just done.
Can I get a mover and seconder, Mr. Mayor? I know Councillor
McHugh
Stedall
moved it. I
started the
thought
motion, but
somebody else second. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I got him. McHugh moved the name, the
Councillor
resolution.
Card.
I need a seconder for the resolution.
Councillor Card.
Councillor Card. Okay, so we got the resolution. All in favor of what we've done? Thank you. Okay, that's done.
Can I
right.
comment, Mr. Mayor, that when you asked at the beginning of the meeting about comments, this is the part I was speaking to, and Director Jardine and his report. It was reprinted from what he did back in, I believe it was either October or September, and he did an excellent job.
And we can still use that.
And we can still use that, and I just wanted members of the public who happen to be watching, if they would like a copy of this, I'm sure we could figure out a way. If you can't access it on the internet, I'm sure we could figure out a way to get you a copy of the report. Thank you.
Sure we can, yes. And we will reach out to, I've already reached out to, yeah, anyways. Frustrating.
Did you call the king? Call the king. Maybe he could help.
Councillor Neal has reached out too to some other people with respect to, they want us to do all these things. Councillor Neal, do you want to comment on that? Well, you don't have to give any names. I'm fine. I trust you.
I have reached out. I also, on the Lauren Brooker show, I hate to mention that name, but there was a great art, was it Councillor, what was it, DeLine? Councillor DeGenova, Mayor DeGenova. It was a great interview with him, and if you want to listen to it, he hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned about the lack of support from either federal or provincial government.
And you know, I'll just tell you this. We have to be very careful what we say and how we say it. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, the invite to the base for the 850 million, neither myself nor Mayor Ellis were invited to the announcement.
Well, if we're not going to get anything, I don't think we have to be very careful.
Well, let's not bury the nail. Let's try to keep the lines open. I have spoken to MPP Smith, and I spoken to the Premier as well. And David, we haven't had a conversation with MP Williams lately, but we could certainly do that tomorrow. Wouldn't hurt a bit to have another conversation and reach out to MP Garrettson in Kingston, because I think we need to get something coming this way. So we'll do that. Anyway, thank you. Any question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did just want to say I reviewed the Community and Human Services, that meeting. I was very proud of the Quinte West councillors for advocating very effectively on behalf, and very pleased that the College Street build is going to go through despite support from partnership from higher levels of government. And all this was managed and under the budget allocation that we made, which is quite remarkable. I know some of it's debt finance, but I was very proud watching the meeting. There was some support in other municipalities as well, but I was very, very pleased and very proud of everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, when did we purchase that property? Like, what year did we purchase that property? Was that like in 2019 or 2018?
This is our third year, isn't it?
I thought it was longer.
Was it 6 years? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it?
Yeah.
Whenever it came up for sale.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then we tore the building down.
2018?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's not one
And then we had a
house on it
public
yet.
meeting. We had a public meeting about it, and people didn't want any housing there because it was used as a parking lot. But anyway, there's other reasons
Part of it
too.
was.
But anyways, I shouldn't say anything.
I'm just frustrated that 2018, when we purchased it, 2019, we take the building down, and yet there's not one house on it. It's extremely frustrating. Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, at the
Yes.
time that we purchased that property, I said then that we would get no money from either levels of government, because as a person that's been on the nonprofit housing board forever, we haven't been once said, fine, you get it ready and we'll help you with it. Not once.
Well, it's
So
still
I'm
the
not
same.
surprised it's been 6 years.
But it's about time it changed.
Absolutely.
Okay, proclamations. First, the council will proclaim April 2nd as World Autism Awareness Day in the city of Quinte West, and further, the sign and the Veteran Skyway Bridge be illuminated in the color green on April 2nd, pending no scheduling conflicts, and further, that council will participate with a flag raising to fly a flag in honor of World Autism Awareness Day and join in celebrating the spectrum. That's it. Okay. So need Councillor Boyce moves, seconded by Councillor McHugh. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one, proclamation submission received from Mr. Mark Laundrie, President, Transplant Advocate Association, requesting council proclaim the month of April 2020 as 2024 as the Be a Donor Month. And there is a donor appreciation dinner at Loyalist College too, this week. Be proclaimed as Green Shirt Day in the city of Quinte West, and further that members of the Transplant Advocate Association and their friends and family may take photos at a flag raising at Quinte West City Hall on Friday, April 5th, 2024. Okay, all in favor of that one? That one carried, thank you. And the next one is the printed and non-printed information. Councillor Stedall moves, seconded by Councillor Freeman. Okay, any comments or questions? Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to pull D, which is the Lambton County Council's notice of motion regarding the infrastructure in Ontario. I'd like to suggest that council should support this. This is that the province of Ontario upload from local municipalities the responsibility of and costs associated with continued construction and operation and maintenance of major municipally owned highways throughout the province of Ontario. The province has already done this with the City of Toronto, and there is a lack of infrastructure funds that's available under the OCIF grant, and so they're asking for our support in this resolution, is that we ask the province if they would please take back the provincial roads or give us more money so that what were previously provincially owned roads, so that we can repair them with some money. So it's asking for more money.
I'd love them to take them back.
Yeah, so I would suggest that we should.
I don't think we have to worry.
I would move that we would support.
Especially the Wooler Road.
She's moving, I'll second that.
We'd like them to take back the Wooler Road and the bridge. Anyways, Councillor Stedall moves, Councillor McHugh seconds. Any further comments? That's supporting specifically this resolution. And if there's any other information in there along the lines of infrastructure, I think we should include that as well. That's my opinion. Because most of us are in the same boat. We need a lot of work we've got a lot of work to do, and we need money to do it. So anyways, all in favor? Carried, thank you. All right.
Sorry, Your Worship, there's one other letter that's in here, the resolution for the town of Lincoln regarding the needs for increased funding for libraries and museums. I think we should also consider supporting that one as well, because I know specifically the libraries, their regular grant that they've had has not been changed, I believe, since maybe 1998. And so I would suggest that council make a recommendation that council support this letter as well. This resolution.
I don't
Happy to
disagree.
second that for sure.
Second by Councillor Freeman. Okay, that's good. Any further discussion? Open a book. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And I'll tell you, it's a pleasure for me. Every now and again, I look out my window and I see a number of mothers or dads coming with their young children to the library, and they're actually dancing when they come in. And the programs are fantastic. And I really love to see them, because we all need to encourage people to read. Question? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I also think we should support the resolution from Town of Goderich regarding the return of the combined Roman Ogra conferences. I think they're too close together. There's duplication and extra costs. I think it always worked well before, and I think that's a good recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor McHugh. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. I don't disagree. That's a lot of waste of time and money. Yes. Great. Okay. All right. Any notice of motions or any Councillor? Okay, Councillor Stedall, that staff be directed to bring the flexible work arrangement policy to the April 3rd council meeting as information. Okay, I need Councillor Stedall move. I need a seconder. Seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Councillor Freeman. Okay. Any further comments or questions?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
So further to council just passing the other policy on policies and saying that we can request any policy come forward, come back to council. That's what this is in line with, is requesting this policy come back to council for information.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, bylaws, first, second, and third time, so I can sign them and so on. I need a mover and a seconder for bylaws. Councillor Elliott moves, seconded by Councillor McHugh. Any questions on bylaws? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Confirmation bylaw, 2 for confirmation. Councillor Sharp, Councillor Card, and all in favor?
You missed new business.
Pardon?
You missed new business.
Oh, did I? I must have been a reason.
Just other couple announcements.
Go ahead.
The solar eclipse is happening, and the National Air Force Museum is working in conjunction with the city, I believe. No? I was told that by their director. Anyways, we're invited to it. Also, the RCAF 100-year anniversary banners are ready. I was wondering if there's an update on installation and stuff like that. Does anybody know about that yet?
I don't know. Director Andrew, you've been informed at all?
There's 54 poles, that's all.
Yes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if it's not later this week, early next week, we're going to start placing those around the municipality.
Is there going to be like a launch ceremony?
Through your worship, I'm not sure. I'm assuming that if there is, it's going to be done by the group that made the delegation to council. I can certainly, or through Director Grimmon, I can certainly reach out to that group and find out what's going on and maybe set that up with his worship and them as well to have a sort of a photo op or.
Right.
Yeah. We'll have that discussion tomorrow and see what
Okay.
direction we need to take.
Also, happy Easter to everybody since we won't be back.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Happy Easter. May the Easter Bunny treat you right, and may the, I guess you'd say, the Irish leprechauns deliver everything you need. Anything else? Hawks play when? Friday night? The Huskies play. Huskies are on down. Are they down 2-1, or is the series tied? I forget. Series is tied. Okay, so they're playing next. Good hockey, good crowds too. Fantastic, and Frankfurt Arena's pretty well full. So.
Mr. Mayor, is there something,
Okay.
I'd like to bring something else up or ask a question. I was watching Kingston News last night, and they're expecting like 500,000 people to show up for the eclipse.
Yeah,
And
I
wonder,
know.
do we have any kind, are we ready for anything? I mean, we're
I
going to
don't.
be right under the
I
same
think
line
it's
as they are.
location, isn't it? Because
we're
I know
there.
Niagara Falls was expecting a large crowd as well, but I know. But do they have a particular location?
It's right across us, Mr. Mayor. It practically follows the 401.
So,
I mean,
no,
they're coming in from
if
all
you
over
take
the
a look
world.
online, the Kingston is getting 2.5, almost 3 full minutes of the solar eclipse. Quinte West is going to get about 1 minute and 15. And so we're just on the cusp, on the edge. Niagara Falls is getting the full 3 minutes, but we will be affected by it, yes.
My concern more than anything was the amount of traffic on the 401. They're apt very much to pull off. So we just need to be prepared for whatever might happen. So it could be an interesting day for at least 1.5 minutes.
Well, I've been through them, but I just suggest you don't look at it. That's all I can say. That's all I. Pardon?
Welder's helmet.
Yeah. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. We're done.